Let's see.
There we go. That'll make post-production a little easier anyway.
We'll fix it in post. Oh, there you go. I think it's better, right?
That looks pretty good. Wednesday night Lego sign right there.
Yeah, that's right. It's that's what I had up last night when I last night when I was I like going live sometimes and I just like
Sometimes you're live like all the time.
it seems like it. It seems like it, right?
You're the king of live.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I want to like fanboy over you for a second because your builds of unreleased sets I think are amazing. Most recently the Star Destroyer, right?
Yeah, I got it. I got it right.
You got it ready to go,
right next to me.
man.
Actually, I mean, so a few years ago, I actually I picked up a bulk lot from a house literally in the middle of the woods. I was like, I'm gonna perish tonight, aren't I? And
literally Hansel and Gretel with Lego.
Well, I was like, maybe I should leave a trail of breadcrumbs, but it was not all the way upstate. I live in New York, so slightly upstate. And I don't think I was expecting though to drive on a dirt path off the main road, and the usual like horror story stuff.
Yeah, he has like a hook when he answers the door, and he's
Well, but in the photos of the lot, like you see like I look for chunk, if you will. That's like I think like most of us do, and I could see like a thruster assembly, and in that thruster assembly there were those beautiful trans orange 2x2 rounded bottom bow tie, whatever you want to call them. So I'm like, oh my god, I think that's a super Star Destroyer in there. And I kept looking through the pictures. I really want that Star Destroyer. So made the trip, got there, drove through the woods, pulled up to the house, had the porch light on. I was like, all right, this is it. I did this for a Lego set or 5. Got to the porch, rang the doorbell, kept looking around, like head on a swivel sort of thing. and I don't know. So she answered the door, and she was with her. I think she had 2 young sons, and her husband was there. And I said, can I just ask why your son? And the kids responded before they could. We just don't want these anymore. I'm like, all right.
Okay.
So here's my contribution to your college fund, and I'm like taking the pins out one by one. The thing's massive. It was easily the biggest Lego set I had to that point, besides the original UCS Falcon, which was my first like big foray into building Lego sets for my own parts. Yeah, I think that was the start of it. I still remember, walking into the Lego store. I think this was 2006, whenever that Falcon was first released, and looking at it, I'm like, I'm not going to spend $500 on a Lego set. That's insane. And so I'm like, all right, let me build it out of my own pieces, and I did. And obviously, when you're doing that, you will never get exactly how the set's supposed to turn out, because you can't match necessarily piece for piece, but it was close enough. And I reminded myself too that the Falcon was like a heap of space junk or whatever it was called in the movies, and it's supposed to look battered and bruised and slightly discolored in some sections and whatnot. So I ended up actually being pretty happy with the result. Mixing like old light gray and
new light color variations in it.
Awesome. Little stuff like that where improvising a Lego set. Kind of goes back to the root of what Lego is all about.
Right. Right.
It's like, they sell you a set that is one thing, but then on the back of that, at least in the olden days, they would show you what other models you could build with the bricks in that box. But ultimately, you could build whatever the heck you wanted.
I remember
And
I had Lego magazine subscription when I was a wee lad. And
yeah,
yeah, you used to be able to just submit like photos of your stuff and like how you built it.
yeah,
I was like 9, so I'm sure whatever I sent in wasn't good. But yeah, they encouraged, making your own thing. I just can't like sometimes I'm working on these complicated sets and I get the facade of it, like the face. Like I have the Disney castle right here. I just finished putting it
yeah,
together. And like I understand the face of it. It's the internal structure where I'm like, I could never figure that out.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so I don't know what you're doing to like get your Star Destroyer to have that slant in there, and like it just looks good. I think you
Yeah,
should be very happy with it.
First of all, I'm not going to pay $70 for the model if and when it comes out. I just won't. Just kind of on principle, right? But that's the fun part of doing it this way for me is figuring out, how does it, angle like this on the sides, and it was a little bit trickier than I thought. And you start thinking, all right, how could they have done this? And from all the, I'm 50 years old, and
well, your name is GenXBricks, so I can kind of put a time frame.
yeah, yeah. So I'm almost 50 years old, and although through the decades, one of my favorite things about actually buying sets is learning from those sets. There are like in the Disney castle that you just showed, there's a whole bunch of like angles and
Absolutely.
Like you said, internal structures and just discovering how they brought like the turret together on top of those towers in the front. You just like, oh my, you see that and you're like, oh wow, I cannot wait to incorporate that into a build. And the problem is, of course, is that there are so many genius building techniques and tips in each set that you end up forgetting like at least half of them. Now, I'm not 100% positive that this is how the actual set will do it, but and I don't know if you can see them, but I've got 5 of those 1x1 clips in there. Holding or clasping onto a length of flex tube that goes to about here, so almost the length of the ship, and then I run it through a 1x2 modified plate with a Technic hole
loop,
and then in that Technic hole, I also put a half Technic pin to hold the flex tube in place, and sure enough, it worked.
It looks great.
Getting the essence of a set is like an absolute thrill for me. And the greebling, there are some parts in the set that are in the set, like these little side slopes here, but everything else I pretty much made up. Mainly because I don't have a lot or some of the elements that they actually feature in the actual set, but
that's how they get you to buy it. Is they?
Oh yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I think at some point Lego realized, some people are buying this for the unique elements in the set, so let's cram them with unique elements.
Let's just drop a couple in every single one, and
exactly. But that's that's probably the major thrill for me when building is discovering new building technique. I've gotten a few like commissions over the years.
Oh, cool.
Where people have asked me to build something, and we designed the thing. I tell them here's what it's going to look like. We agree to a fee, blah blah blah. I make it, and then it's gone. And the funny thing is, soon after I've built that thing for them, I don't even think about those pieces anymore, which kind of makes me a little sad. Because it's like I feel like I probably done builds like totaling maybe, let's say, like tens of thousands of pieces, maybe like around 25, 30,000 pieces over the entirety of of that portfolio. And but I don't think about those pieces anymore. I don't know quite how to describe that feeling where I'm fine with letting go of something, but I'm also not fine at all with letting that almost
And you miss it when it's gone. Yeah. Yeah. I used to be super into action figures, and they're just not on display anymore. They're just sitting in a bucket. And so now I'm like, should I just let them go? Like, I don't know what to do with them. Am I going to miss them once they're gone? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I totally get that.
I've had maybe one huge project where I built a subway map that covered the entirety of a stairwell in a corporate office. That was actually that was probably my biggest project today. But everything else you can hold with like two hands, right? I'll say, all right, you want a mosaic? It's going to have approximately this many pieces. It'll probably take me like 20 hours to build. I might have to special order piece X, Y, or Z, but here's how much it'll cost. Do you agree? We agree, and then that's it. And the way I get discovered is through socials. Usually, I discovered or became a member of Virtual Lug. We haven't met in real life yet. I mean, a few of us, like, we've met each other in, individually or whatever, but as a lug, we haven't met. So during the pandemic, I think towards the beginning, I joined a virtual lug called Sort Lug. It was started by a husband and wife team from Canada. They both used to work for Lego.
Oh, cool.
Stephen and Jen Canvin. Those are their names, and really cool people. They live out west. And they started Sword Lug primarily because we were all stuck at home, and no one obviously was going to conventions, no lug meetings, etc. And yeah, they started this thing through Facebook, and I forget exactly how this happened, but one of them got in touch with me, and if I'm remembering this correctly, got in touch with me and said, "Hey, would you be interested?" And I said, "Heck yes." And I remember our first meeting. I was like, I'm in a Zoom room with like a whole bunch of strangers, but the commonality obviously is the brick. And everyone's background was either a room that looked like yours, a room that looked like mine, some bare bones living room somewhere, some mess on the floor, someone like green screened their cat or whatever. But it's like, oh my God, this is something to do. And we're obviously we're in the safety of our own homes, and we're talking freaking Legos. This is amazing. And I remember waiting for like an opening to say something besides hello. And I realized that one of the members in the group had the same flat file drawers as I did. I think his name's Chris. I think it was Chris Shepard. And I was like, "Hey, Chris, those are cool things back there. I get the same thing." And I don't think he had talked about them at this point. And someone said, "What are those?" And I said, "They're architectural flat file drawers. They're made of steel. They're like 3 feet wide and 4 feet deep, and You can put so much Lego into it, and that's what got that's what that's where all the anxiety, all the nervousness about being in a virtual room with strangers just melted away when I realized I'm like, these are my people.
That's amazing.
My dream job would actually be to work for Lego, but not as a designer because I would suck at that. I would want to work with their community relations team because as a fan of the brick, you see all the wonderful things about it, but then you also hear all the gripes from the community about the company itself. And I think if they just had someone who was one of us, as it were, those relationships could be fostered in such a much more productive, positive way.
What's the grossest thing you found inside of a used bin of Lego?
Oh my gosh. So that's the one thing I do pride myself on. Not to be kind of obnoxious about it, but every time when I look at a bulk lot, at least the initial pictures, I will see. I will do my best to see. All right, how much of this is fake Lego, like clone brick, not. And most of the time, it's easy to discern just from pictures alone, which is what I did just last week. Actually, I'm like, this lot, it's priced too good to be true. And then you look a little closer, and the lighting in the picture brings out the fake sheen.
Yep.
And then you see elements that are definitely not system, and all right, we're avoiding that one. Now, if I come across a lot like I did just this past weekend, where there's some unknown substance on the lid of the bucket, I'll avoid that. But probably nothing grosser than I remember a super rock hard Tootsie Roll in its wrapper.
Okay. You are lucky, man. You are so.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I have definitely been lucky. Now I've come across super dusty lots.
Oh, for sure. That on a shelf for 20 years or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I found classic yellow castle once. But I'm like, this thing can be buried under a layer of Martian dust. I'm still buying this lot. It was a yard sale. I pulled up to it. I saw some Lego on the front lawn. I'm like, all right, yeah. He goes, oh, you like Lego? Dude, come inside. I was like, what can he have?
You're another situation where you're putting yourself at the mercy.
But yeah, this time it was broad daylight. It was a house off of Main
Come
Street.
to the back of my van.
Yeah. That's where I'll draw the line. But I walked into his house, and on one side he had all of these Matchbox, Hot Wheels cars, Star Wars, blah blah. On this side, oh my God, I saw the Yellow Castle. I saw two giant 40-gallon tubs or however big they were. I'm like, oh, I won't be able to leave this place without those things.
That's so cool. I'm holding out for the day I find a Fort Laredo.
So okay, I have at least two of those. Don't kill me. But that was in my. I used to raid my local Goodwills when I lived in New York City. There were 3 or 4 thrift shops on one block, and the Goodwill was one of them. And this was in the 90s, where Toys R Us was still around. And what would happen is if somebody somebody like dropped a box on its corner at that Toys R Us. Toys R Us would like
just donate it.
donate it to Goodwill.
Gosh.
No questions asked. And Goodwill would sell them for like $10, $20, $30 for like $100 set or whatever.
Oh my gosh.
And that included a couple for Legorato's. And but back then I didn't, I would build the set, and if I thought that far ahead, I would actually deconstruct it and put it into Ziploc bags or whatever and throw them away. So I have a few sets like that, but most of my collection went back into the sorting drawers.
Yeah.
I think I need to rebuild them just because I'm seeing like kids on TikTok who are building and collecting these sets from 20, 30 years ago, and it blows my mind.
I don't know what it is exactly that is attractive to it, but it's definitely an element of I think a lot of Lego today looks the same.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
These older sets have a lot of uniqueness to them.
Yes.
And simplicity that I think is attractive to a lot of modern fans.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
you're right. And, one of my favorite videos actually on TikTok is Cool Guy Dom looking at this I forget exactly what the theme is, and I want to remember it like after I talk to you. But in essence, it's like an Egyptian themed set where Johnny Thunder.
I saw that. Yeah.
And he shows all the play features.
Yeah.
Which included magnets and secret chambers and whatnot. I'm like, wow, I never fully realized that all of that playability was in those sets, because I was busy collecting them for the elements, the printed elements, the printed Egyptian elements, and etc. I never fully appreciated the set until I saw someone from like 2 generations after mine really appreciate it.
Really
like, wow, holy cow.
Have you ever had like a dark night where you didn't buy Lego or you weren't into it, or have you always just been?
I think I've always been into. So I lived abroad for like,
cool,
for about 4 years, and this was a country, the Philippines, at that time, where Lego wasn't really commonly available, except around the capital where we did not live. And so I remember bringing my Lego with me, or as much of it as I could, to the Philippines. And I don't think I, would play with it as much as I did when I was, back home in New York. Then one day my parents go to Manila. They bring me home a Lego set, and the interest is back. But it was only that one set, and it was mainly bricks. No specialized elements or anything like that. So, like, flash forward like a year or two, we moved back to the States, and at that time I ended up getting wrapped up in a lot of other stuff, like Star Wars figures, primarily video games, etc. But every now and then I would still, go to Toys R Us with my dad or my mom and buy a Lego set, but it wasn't on this level, like not even close. I've been to enough estate sales where, very sad to say, the homeowner passed away and the children were, selling the house, and so they were now clearing it out with some estate sale company, which is, admittedly like a very sad way again to get your hands on that stuff. But I'd like to think that the person's collection it has now gone to someone who truly appreciates it, and that it went to a home where it's going to become part of some magnificent build.
Yeah.
That would make them happy to see if they could have seen it.
Yeah. Along those thoughts, like I have some stuff up here I'm like kind of precious about, but I'm pretty open on TikTok about like, I sell a lot of stuff, or like,
Yeah.
I'll part stuff out and, you know, get rid of stuff in bulk just because I can't keep it all. And I think part of that is like very sad to say we're all gonna die one day. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but like I don't need to be a dragon hoarder of this stuff. Like if me posting it and getting it out there means somebody else is gonna actually enjoy it,
Yeah.
great. I'll hold on to the stuff I'm precious about for now, but I don't need to keep everything.
And I've talked to my kids about this. I'm like, if it means that I have to like sell up like half of my collection to make sure that you get through college, or buy your first home or whatever, then that's where this is going to go.
Yeah.
Ideally,
That doesn't happen.
ideally, you let dad keep this stuff, but I'm also a little bit of a realist, right? Because uh, I'm getting up there in years, and I'm hoping that this becomes like a legacy for somebody.
Mm,
Like I don't just want to like suddenly pass away one day and it goes to no one,
right.
and I have zero control over it. Ultimately, it benefits me now, and that it makes me happy to have this collection and to build stuff like this, and talk with other folks, like other enthusiasts like yourself and the community that I met on TikTok about it. But I also want it to carry on after me. I would love nothing more than this collection to benefit my offspring, or have it go to somebody else who will appreciate it in the end.
Well, I think that sounds like a good spot to call it done. That was very like future focused, very hopeful and practical. I don't know. I think that's a good spot to end the episode. That was great.
That's always a good way to end, is on a practical note,
Yes. Yes.
on a positive note.
We reached our natural conclusion. That was wonderful.
Well, Travis, this was awesome, man. Thanks for having me on, and I can't wait to see it and share it.
Thanks, man. Thanks for doing this, and I'll see you on TikTok.
Yes, you will.
Around.
All right. See you, Travis.
All right. Later, man. Take care.